4-lane section that seems to be so important today, I want to be very, very clear, was never put in as a result of traffic counts, forecasted needs, or any science like that, or any calculations like that. The city has some typical sections. One of them is a 4-lane divided section chosen by city planning at that time, just exactly the way I've done it dozens of times myself, and look back over the years and think, gee, I wish I had done that for some of the reasons I'll show you tonight. But there's nothing magic about the 4 lanes. The 4 lanes just happen to be put in there. There's enough capacity out there to be able to handle the traffic that we've got with many less lanes. But it's also safer when you go slower for the motorists, because if you have a collision with 2 vehicles going 45 miles an hour, or a collision with 2 vehicles going 35 miles an hour, you've got a better chance. Departments of Transportation are moving toward complete streets. In 2000, the Federal Highway Administration put out guidance that said bicycling and walking facilities will be incorporated into all transportation projects unless exceptional circumstances exist. That only comes to play when we're using their money. We're not using their money right now, but the point is, you can see at the national level, this is what's going on. Bike lanes can make streets safer. Now, we're introducing this. We've got some more room. There's a biking community in this city. There's been a desire by people since I've come, and before I came, frankly, in my interview process, there was talk about bicycle lanes. There's been an interest in some parts about having bicycle lanes. Well, that's now affords us the possibility. But this process started, we want to be very clear, because we couldn't do anything about the speeders on Parkway. And we thought a road diet, a lane diet, might do something about the speeders. Why do we care about that? You know why. It's safer to go slower. This is in our city. This is in our commercial areas, in our school areas, and in some cases, neighborhoods. But we've got room now for bike lanes. So what happens? Well, you put them in, it creates appropriate lane width. We're kind of squeezing things down a little bit, so now we've got room for them. That encourages appropriate operating speeds, and the last thing goes with the same thing. As bicyclists increase along the sides of the road, those of us using this travel lane are we're going to want to go slower. We're going to have more of a feeling that it's a good thing to go slower.
My name is Karen Kaler. I live here in Russellville. I have been blessed to live here for the last 7 years. In my world, as a licensed driver for the last 35 years,
What kind of driver?
A licensed driver for the last 35 years. Never had my license taken away from me. I was taught your speed is determined by the speed zone you're in, the condition of the road, the weather, and whether on a highway. I drive on it probably 3 or 4 times a week, different times of the day or night. I can never go the actual speed limit. I'm going maybe 5 miles or a little bit more underneath that, because there's so much.
My name is Roy Reeves, and I certainly have a vested interest in this. 2 other gentlemen and I donated the land for Parkway from Weir Road to the east. My wife was killed at Parkway and Weir Road, so I have a very vested interest in this. I appreciate anything that will help make this our city safer, whether it's Parkway or any other city. I think that this does it. You mentioned that the streets are designed for 85% of the traffic. If that's the case, it does not include bicycles. We have far more duties on that road than we have bicycles. So I ask you to rethink, when you talk about the traffic, I think West Parkway's lack of development certainly skews those numbers. And that's different if you look at both time and location as far as East Parkway.
I agree.
Appreciate the interest and the desire to make it safer. I just think this is an ill-designed idea.
So we do ride Parkway probably 2 or 3 times a week. So having bike lanes is going to be a good thing for bikers, because we're going to be on Parkway. It's something that's the only way to get back into town. If we go out another way, we'll have to come back in this way, you know. So we're going to be on Parkway at some times, and so to have them safe is going to be good. I've been riding for over 15 years. When we first started riding, there were very few bicyclers on the roads. You saw very few when you were driving. It's changed. There's tons more bikers now, and you're going to see more and more, especially as gas prices go up. So we do need to make our roads safer for them, because they're going to be out there. And there's people in this room that are, they use their bikes for commuting. And they need to get to businesses, and there's more and more business lines. So to have a safe place It's very important. But I also happen to, over the 50 years, we have owned up to 6 cars at a time. So we are also taxpayers and everything else. So majority of bicyclers are recreational bicyclers. We live in a safe place, and to pay our taxes, we do both.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Just quickly, my name is Bruce Conley. Been around this community for a long time, and frankly, I'm part of the cycling community as well. Just started riding about 2.5, 3 years ago. And first, I'd like to say thank you to the city for considering the cycling committee in putting bike lanes in on a major east-west thoroughfare, because right now we have no safe way to get from one side of the town to the other. I ride Parkway as well, and it's not safe at times. There's a lot of areas in Russellville that are not safe for cyclists. I ride for recreation, but also ride for health. I pay taxes in the town. I've got 2 or 3 vehicles, and I would appreciate any concern. And one other thing that has not yet been mentioned as part of the cycling community, believe it or not, if you put bike lanes in, there's potential for economic growth, because there's a lot of cycling groups in the state of Arkansas that are looking for places to go to have rides, whether they're tours, races, or whatever. And, it can bring in a lot of economic benefit. I'll be glad to talk to anyone, anywhere, anytime about things.
And I am not anti-bike. I love to ride a bicycle. But I live at Tilly, and that's 42 miles from here.
Sure.
And I know there could be many people here today that could say the same thing. We can't bike into town. And we spend our money here in Russellville. And the city of Russellville gets the benefits of our sales tax that we pay in.
And we do appreciate it, ma'am.
But that's okay. I just want you guys to consider that, a huge percentage of your sales tax that goes to your cities is just not from in-town residents. And like I said, I love to ride a bike, and I realize where you guys are coming from. There's other thoughts too.